well, all of us knew that this was coming, but in your estimation, has this come in before the expected timeline? And what more importantly, what's really triggered this in your opinion? And why is Elon Musk actually acting like a victim? Is he doing this to leverage political influence to protect his business interests?
Your statement is itself an explanation, all of it, as you said very correctly. What is important here is to remember that the United States economy is in trouble. The whole world recognizes it. Only the blind people are not willing to accept that fact. I coined the phrase that United States suffers from an acute case of financial obesity because the deficits at $36.3 trillion is unmanageable. And with the dollar decline happening and dollar in uncertainty, you are looking at global powers, looking at alternate means for trade and commerce settlements. And technology has succeeded in enabling those possibilities. So what was Trump trying to do was cut down on expenses. I also say that because of this financial obesity, United States needs to go on an extreme fat loss program. Because unless and until you do that, the tightening of belt will not happen. So, remember one thing. Trump also was a Democrat. Elon Musk was also a Democrat. But they were all sick and tired of the burgeoning deficit that is going on in the US economy. And both wanted to cut on expenses. Remember, prior to all of it, it was Vivek Ramaswamy who in his presidential bid had talked about reducing government deficit, government waste, and what was going on, the pork barrel projects as they used to call it. Vivek was the first one to, go on a campaign on that agenda itself. And he also had given the ways to do it. Somehow Vivek fell off the track. He went for the governorship and Elon Musk jumped into the entire process. Technology driven. So now that DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency, was established to cut government waste. And in America, one has to remember that more than 90% of the economy is in private sector. Only 10% in terms of regulation and management is with the government. But as the socialist agenda, as the woke agenda of the Democratic Party was going on rampantly to create a society of entitlements, the budget deficit was growing, without control. It's like India's deficit budgeting. You can't do deficit budgeting all the time unless you have sources of revenue to overcome that. Now, dollar enjoys the fiat currency, status in the world, a currency of reserve. This also is being shaken up for all the reasons that I mentioned, and also because the indiscriminate sanctions and asset seizure that United States had been doing to tame the enemies. And as a result of which, that people began to look at alternate places to park their assets and monies. Because who wants to wake up in the morning and find out that United States has seized their assets? It completely disrupts the process. So to keeping that into account, Trump was trying to cut the deficits as much as possible. And that was only possible by an outside agency looking at it from a very acute angle. That's where Elon Musk came in. Both of them are successful businessmen. One is, as you rightly said, the richest man in the world. The other one is the most powerful man in the world. And they thought that they can cut the inefficiency in the system. But, governments operate in a very different way. The government doesn't operate as a corporation of Trump Inc. or a Tesla Inc. or variety, because those two places, these two gentlemen can have their own cultural impact about what they want. But in democracy, you do not have that liberty to do that. And that's where the efforts were failing and efforts were being stymied because significant amount of vested interests had crept in. And then the rest of the game is very, very clear. So they fell apart on that because in this big, beautiful budget that Trump calls it, there is a possibility that deficits may go up to $39.3 trillion. And that is undermining efficiency that we talked about.